Hi my loves and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be learning how to make this lab coat, so do not forget to like, subscribe and comment as you are going to be finding this video very helpful. The material required for this project is 2 trouser lengths of jam-packed fabric. That is what is called in Nigeria. You can use cotton or any kind of fabric you find suitable. Usually about 2.5 to 3 yards of fabric will be enough. The basic body measurements required for this project includes the bust, shoulder, round sleeve, full length, armhole depth, hip width and close wrist measurements. I'm making use of this brown paper for my drafting, and from the edge of the paper I've measured 1 inch down. This is the baseline, and most of the measurements I'm going to be taking will be from this point. After marking in that baseline, the next measurements I'll be imputing will be my chest line or the armhole depth line. I measured round my armhole and it gave me 18 inches. 18 divided by 2 gave me 9. And I added extra 2 inches. Now you can decide to add 1 or 2 inches, but I added 2 inches just to give more room for my armhole. It's time to impute our backline measurements, so just take the measurement from that baseline to the chest line and divide by 2. I folded my tape into 2 at that point just to make the work easy, or you can calculate using your calculator. When you are done with that, make it into a straight line and label. The shoulder line is next, so just take it 1 inch down from the baseline and label. After imputing these 3 horizontal measurements, the next step is to impute the vertical measurements. So I'll be dividing my shoulder length into 2 and adding 1 inch. Shoulder length I'm working with is about 19 inches. 19 divided by 2 gives me 9.5. 9.5 plus 1 inch is 10.5, and I've marked those points on the shoulder line, the back line and the chest line. Then make those points into a straight line as you've seen me do. Move over with your tape to the top line, and from the edge mark 3 inches. This is the width of your neckline. You can make it a bit bigger if you are on the bigger side. Then on the shoulder line, come out by half an inch and mark as you've seen, and from that point join it to the 3 cm point you marked as your neckline above. From the measurements you wrote out earlier, check out if your bust or hips is the greater measurement. If it is your bust, you use a quarter of your bust for this particular measurement, or if it's your hips, you use your hips. In this case, my hips was the greater measurement, so I'm dividing it by 4 and adding 1 inches. The hips I was working with is 48 inches. 48 divided by 4 gave me 12 inches, and I've added an extra 1 inch to make it 13 inches, and that is what I've imputed through the length of my lab coat, which is about 43 inches. So mark that point and take it down. For the front neckline, come down from the top line by 3 inches. Join it at that point to the shoulder tip using your French cuff and try making it a little bit straight just by the edge of the paper. Then to join your armhole, use the cuff to join from that shoulder tip to the back line and then to the bust line. Go ahead and cut it out using your paper scissors. Do not use your fabric scissors for this. And if you are someone that loves adding allowance to your pattern, you can go ahead and add before you are done cutting out. Now this pattern will serve as a template both for the back and the front, and we'll be making slight modifications. So trace this template for the back and set it aside. We'll start by modifying the front. As you can see, I felt the neck depth of 3 inches was too small, so I came down by an additional half an inch. In the typical lab coat, the back shoulder usually overlaps the front. That's why I'm measuring out 1 inch from the shoulder point and the neck point, and I've connected it together using the straight line. I'm going to be folding and cutting out this part, and this will be our front. This makes the front part a bit shorter by 1 inch. That is not all the modification for the front. We'll discuss it well cutting out the fabric, and the same will go for the back. It's time to draft out the pocket of our lab coat, and trust me, it's the easiest part of the process. Start by deciding the length and width of your pocket. I used 8 inches for my length and 7 inches for my width. Do not add any allowance at this point. I'm going to show you a very easy method of doing that directly on the fabric. After marking out, I'm using my ruler to make them into straight lines. After which I'll be cutting out using my pair of paper scissors. If you want to have those fine angles just at the side, start by folding over the paper into two. On the length measurement side, measure about 1.5 inch each from the side as you can see on the screen. Make that line and cut it out. And this is what we are ending up with. This was for the side pockets that will be placed at the hip points. For the smaller pocket that is located just by the breast points, you are going to use the same procedure, but the length should be about 6 inches while the width 5 inches. The last part of this slab coat we are going to be drafting is the sleeves, and don't worry, we'll soon be done and get into the sewing. To determine the height of your sleeve cap, start from that baseline we used for our measurement and measure to the chest line and divide this measurement into two. When you are done obtaining that measurement, you place it from the edge of the paper and make it into a straight line. Now measure that diagonal line from the shoulder tip to the bust line, and from the edge of your paper you impute that measurement plus 1/2 inch and make a diagonal line. As you can see, take note of the horizontal measurements from that sleeve cap line and mark it through the length of your sleeves. I realized my paper was too short and I'm going ahead to join more paper to half my length. The length of sleeve required for this slab coat will be your total length minus 1 inches. This is because you added an extra 1 inch to the shoulder line while drafting the main bodice. Just before adding length to my sleeves, I'm going to draw in the sleeve cap head. Take note of that diagonal measurement and divide it into 6. I'm done dividing and I'm imputing it on the diagonal line I had drawn earlier. When you finish placing the measurement, label those points from number 1 to 5, with 1 being the part closest to the top edge and 5 being the parts on the lower side of the diagonal line. Let's go over to point 2 and raise it up by 3¼ inches. While at point 5, we are going down by 3/8 of an inch. Finish up the sleeve cap by starting from that point and make sure it passes through the 3/4 point you marked at 2 and make the line intersect at point 4. Follow the 3/8 point you marked at 5 and finalize the curve at the side. I've added more paper at this point to accommodate the full length of my sleeve, and I'm cutting out the sleeve head. Remember that the full length of our lab coat sleeve is our normal sleeve measurement minus 1 inch because we added 1 inch to the back. The edge of the paper is our wrist line, so on that line measure half of your wrist measurement and add 1.5 inch. I've marked mine and I've gone ahead to connect it to the side. I'm finishing up the pattern by cutting out the undesirable parts. With this, we have come to the end of drafting of a lab coat. Stay tuned for the next tutorial where we are going to be sewing it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye and see you soon.